Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Today, I want to bring up a question that always sparks heated debates and that you've probably thought about at some point. Who are the worst Mr. Olympia winners of all time? It's a topic that divides opinions since the bodybuilding world is vast and full of legends who have marked different eras. Each of you might have your own top 5, whether it's due to controversial judge decisions, backstage drama, or other factors that influence the results. What's fascinating is that, as the years go by, technology has evolved, and our access to detailed information about these athletes' performances and careers has become even broader. So, I thought, what if we let an artificial intelligence like ChatGPT create a list of the 5 worst Mr. Olympia winners of all time? Will AI, with access to a vast amount of data and analysis, agree with what the community believes? Or will it surprise us? Before revealing this list, I need to extend a special invitation. If you enjoy the content I produce here on the channel and want to see more videos like this, consider becoming a channel member. It helps me keep bringing you the analysis and curiosities about the bodybuilding world that you all love. If you're new here, welcome to our community. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps the video gain visibility. And of course, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Remember, your interaction is crucial for YouTube to understand that this content is relevant and to start showing it to more people. Now let's get to the main event. The 5 worst Mr. Olympia winners of all time, according to artificial intelligence. Will you agree with this list or completely disagree? Let's find out together. Let's start with Dexter Jackson, the 2008 Mr. Olympia winner, an athlete who undeniably left his mark on the bodybuilding world. Known as the Blade for his ability to maintain impeccable muscle definition, Dexter had an incredibly long-lasting career, competing for over 2 decades. He racked up numerous titles over the years, including 5 Arnold Classic wins, one of the most prestigious competitions in the sport. However, despite his consistency and longevity, his 2008 Mr. Olympia victory raises some controversies, putting his name on this list of the worst champions in history. In 2008, Dexter defeated none other than Jay Cutler, the reigning champion at the time. Cutler, who had been on a winning streak, wasn't in his best form that year, leaving the door open for Jackson, with his symmetrical structure and sharp definition, to take the title. However, many fans and experts see this victory as somewhat unexpected and, in a way, circumstantial. The main critique here is that, while Jackson was known for his impeccable definition, he never had the impressive muscle mass typically seen in Olympia champions. Compared to giants like Ronnie Coleman or even Jay Cutler himself, Dexter was always more contained in terms of size, leading some to question his win. The main reason Dexter Jackson is on this list is the perception that his Olympia win was seen by many as a result of a lack of fierce competition that year. Jay Cutler, even out of his best form, was still considered the favorite, and many believe his loss was more about a weak showing than Dexter's clear superiority. Additionally, that year's competition lacked some of the big names that usually grace the Olympia stage, making Dexter's victory, although legitimate, feel less significant than other champions. Another important factor is that despite winning the Olympia in 2008, Dexter never managed to repeat the feat his career, while extremely successful, didn't include other Olympia victories, reinforcing the perception that his title was more of an exception than the rule. Many Mr. Olympia champions create a dynasty, winning consecutive titles or dominating multiple editions, which wasn't the case for Jackson. Though he remained competitive and relevant for many years, this lack of consistency on bodybuilding's biggest stage is what places him among the worst winners, according to some critics. This doesn't mean that Dexter Jackson isn't an extraordinary athlete. His record of longevity in the sport is unmatched, and his ability to remain competitive for so long is a testament to his dedication and discipline. However, the viewpoint here is that his 2008 Olympia victory doesn't resonate with the same grandeur as other wins in the competition's history. In an era marked by muscular giants and iconic figures, Dexter's victory, though impressive, didn't have the impact you would expect from a Mr. Olympia champion. So, what do you think? Does Dexter Jackson deserve to be on this list of the worst Mr. Olympia winners? Or do you believe his victory was fair and deserved? Comment below and join the discussion. Now, let's talk about Shawn Rhoden, the 2018 Mr. Olympia winner. Another name that sparks plenty of debate when it comes to his place among Olympia champions. Rhoden, also known as Flexitron, made history by defeating the then 7-time champion Phil Heath. It was a victory that surprised many bodybuilding fans, but at the same time, raised questions about the fairness and merit of this achievement. While Rhoden presented a spectacular physique, his victory was surrounded by controversies, making him one of the most discussed winners in the competition's recent history. Shawn Rhoden claimed the title during a time dominated by Phil Heath, one of the biggest names in modern bodybuilding, who was seeking his 8th consecutive title. Heath was widely considered unbeatable at that point, but in 2018, Rhoden did the unthinkable. He defeated the Gift. However, what should have been a glorious moment for Rhoden soon became the subject of criticism. Many argue that although he was in incredible shape, his victory was favored by Phil Heath's shortcomings, as Heath didn't bring his best version to the stage that year. Heath was dealing with noticeable issues with his abdominal muscles, which became one of the key points for the judges. Rhoden, on the other hand, presented a more aesthetic physique with a smaller waist and superior definition, which was a sharp contrast to Heath's bulky, heavy figure. However, many fans of the sport believe that even with Heath's flaws, he still had a presence and musculature superior to Rhoden's, making his defeat seem more like bad timing than Rhoden's merit. To many, Rhoden was simply in the right place at the right time, taking advantage of one of Heath's rare missteps to secure his victory. Another point that tarnishes Shawn Rhoden's victory is what happened afterward. He didn't get the chance to defend his title in 2019 after facing serious legal accusations, which ended up damaging his reputation and career. Although he was cleared of the charges years later, this situation cast a shadow over his reign, contributing to his inclusion on this list of the worst Mr. Olympia winners. Rhoden never got the chance to prove that his 2018 win wasn't a stroke of luck, leaving many fans wondering if he could have repeated defeat or if his victory was a one-off occurrence. Even so, there's no denying that Rhoden brought a more classic and proportional aesthetic to the stage, which pleased many fans who were tired of the dominance of overly massive physiques. But compared to other champions who managed to create dynasties at Olympia, like Ronnie Coleman or Phil Heath himself, Rhoden didn't have the opportunity to solidify his position among the greats. His 2018 victory, therefore, remains controversial, with many considering that he wasn't able to establish a lasting legacy in the sport. So, what do you think? Was Shawn Rhoden a deserving champion who brought a necessary change to bodybuilding? Or was he simply a beneficiary of Phil Heath's flaws that year? Comment below and share your opinion. Now, it's time to talk about Chris Dickerson, the 1982 Mr. Olympia winner. Dickerson is a historic figure in the bodybuilding world, and his legacy is undeniable. He was the first African-American man and the only openly gay Mr. Olympia winner, which in itself represents an important milestone for diversity in the sport. However, his victory in 1982 is often considered one of the most controversial in Olympia history, both because of his performance and the level of competition at the time. Dickerson competed during a transitional era in bodybuilding, with legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu already stepping away from the stage, making room for new champions. That year, bodybuilding was searching for a new face to lead the competition, and Dickerson, with his clean aesthetics and well-defined musculature, seemed like the obvious choice to many. He was known for his symmetry and definition, key attributes in any bodybuilding championship. But what stirred so much debate about his win was the fact that, compared to his competitors, Dickerson didn't have the muscle mass or stage presence expected of a Mr. Olympia champion. In 1982, Dickerson went up against competitors like Frank Zane and Tom Platz, both favorites who brought more impactful physiques to the competition. Many believe that Platz, with his impressive legs and dominant stage presence, deserved the title that year. Dickerson's victory, therefore, was seen by many as a conservative choice by the judges, who opted to reward symmetry and proportion rather than embrace the growing trend of muscular mass that was beginning to dominate the sport. This made his win subject to criticism, especially from fans who preferred a more muscular and imposing champion. Another reason Dickerson is on this list of the worst champions is the fact that he was never able to replicate his success at Mister Olympia. Despite having a solid career, his 1982 victory was the only time he reached the pinnacle of bodybuilding, which reinforces the perception that he couldn't maintain the level of dominance expected from an Olympia champion. Compared to champions like Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates, who ruled the stage for several years, Dickerson had a more subdued presence, and his win is often viewed as an exception rather than a confirmation of his superiority. Furthermore, Chris Dickerson's physique, although aesthetically pleasing, was considered by many to be too small for the standards that were beginning to emerge in 1980s bodybuilding. The following decade would be marked by an extreme increase in muscle size, which made his victory seem even more out of place in the historical context. The style of bodybuilding that Dickerson represented soon became obsolete, and his win came to be seen as a sort of last gasp of an earlier era, where symmetry and proportion were valued more than sheer muscle mass. So, here's the question for you. Did Chris Dickerson deserve his 1982 title, or was he outdone by more impressive competitors? Was his victory fair, or just a reflection of a transitional period in the sport? Comment below and let us know what you think. Now we arrive at Samir Bannout, the 1983 Mister Olympia winner. Samir, known as the Lion of Lebanon, is a bodybuilder who made history by becoming the first Lebanese man to win the Olympia. His victory marked a shift in the bodybuilding landscape, bringing a more refined aesthetic with an extremely defined and detailed physique. However, his inclusion on this list of the worst Mr. Olympia champions is mainly due to his lack of consistency and the belief that many have that his win was the result of a weak year in terms of competition. Samir Bannout has always been praised for his symmetry and muscle definition. In 1983, he presented a physique that impressed many fans and judges, especially with his back development, showing muscle detail rarely seen. However, despite these attributes, his victory was surrounded by controversy. Samir competed against the likes of Mohamed Makawai and Frank Zane, two athletes also known for their clean aesthetics and well-proportioned physiques. That year's competition was marked by the absence of larger, more muscular figures, allowing a more classic aesthetic to dominate the stage. For this reason, many believe Bannout won at a time when the sport was in a transitional period, weakening the perception of his victory. Moreover, Samir was unable to replicate his success in subsequent years. Although he remained a regular competitor in the following years, his physique never reached the level that earned him the title in 1983. The fact that he never returned to the top of the Olympia reinforces the idea that his win was more circumstantial than a true affirmation of superiority in the sport. For many, Samir's victory was a combination of perfect timing and the absence of big muscular giants on stage that year, placing him on this list of the worst champions. Another point that supports this view is bodybuilding's evolution right after Samir's victory. The sport quickly moved away from smaller, more proportional physiques, embracing an increasingly extreme trend of muscle mass, which ended up overshadowing athletes like Samir, who represented an older era of bodybuilding. By the mid-80s, Mr. Olympia became dominated by figures like Lee Haney, whose combination of mass and definition redefined what was necessary to be a champion in the sport. In this context, Samir's victory began to appear more and more like an anomaly in the course of bodybuilding. Although Samir Bannout is undoubtedly a talented bodybuilder and brought an impressive physique in 1983, the lack of consistency in his career and the fact that he was never able to capitalize on his victory contribute to the frequent discussion of his position as one of the worst Mr. Olympia champions. His story also serves as an example of how quickly the sport can change and how a champion of one year can be easily overshadowed by the giants who follow. So, what do you think? Was Samir Bannout a deserving champion who brought a classic aesthetic that bodybuilding needed, or did he just benefit from a transitional year in the sport? Leave your comment below. We've reached the last name on our list, Franco Columbu, winner of the Mister Olympia in 1976 and 1981. Columbu is a true legend in the bodybuilding world, with an impressive history and an iconic friendship with Arnold Schwarzenegger. However, his 1981 victory is widely regarded as one of the most controversial in Olympia history, placing him among the worst champions, according to many fans and experts. The main reason? Many believe Franco won more because of his name and status than because he truly presented the best physique that year. Franco Columbu was always known for his incredible strength and muscular density, despite being shorter than most bodybuilders of his time. He compensated for his stature with incredibly dense musculature and respectable symmetry. His first victory in 1976 was considered fair, as he was in one of his best forms, defeating competitors who couldn't reach his level that year. But it was his 1981 victory that stirred controversy. Columbu had retired after winning the title in 1976 and only returned to competition in 1981, following a long absence due to an injury he suffered during a World's Strongest Man event. When Columbu returned to the Olympia stage in 1981, many believed he wasn't in the best shape to compete, especially after his injury. He faced strong competitors like Tom Platz, who was widely considered one of the favorites to win that year. Platz displayed a massive physique with the most impressive legs in the competition, which many believed should have been enough to secure the victory. However, the judges sided with Columbu, a result many saw as a gift due to his history in the sport and his association with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Joe Weider, both highly influential figures in bodybuilding. Franco Columbu's 1981 victory is still remembered today as one of the biggest robberies in Mister Olympia history. Many fans and experts believe he simply wasn't on the same physical level as his competitors that year, and that his victory was more about prestige than merit. To make matters worse, 1981 was a year when several judging decisions were heavily criticized, creating a climate of dissatisfaction within the bodybuilding community. This led to Columbu's victory being viewed with great skepticism, reinforcing the notion that he didn't deserve the title. Another point that adds to this view is the fact that Franco never had the same dominance as other Olympia champions. He didn't create a dynasty like Arnold or Ronnie Coleman. His 1981 victory was an isolated event, and for many, one of the worst moments in the competition's history. Despite all the respect Columbu deserves for his contributions to the sport, the context of his victory that year remains a topic of debate. So, did Franco Columbu truly deserve the Mister Olympia title in 1981? Or was he favored because of his status and influence in the sport? Hey everyone, those were the 5 worst Mister Olympia champions of all time, according to our analysis and the controversies that marked each of these names. Of course, this list is based on various opinions from the bodybuilding community and the circumstances surrounding each victory, but we know this topic still sparks a lot of debate. Some victories, like Franco Columbu's in 1981 or Shawn Rhoden's in 2018, are still being discussed today, while other athletes, like Samir Bannout, made their mark despite the controversies surrounding their wins. Now, I want to know your opinion. What do you think about the winners we included on this list? Do you think athletes like Franco Columbu truly deserve the title in such contested years? Or, on the other hand, do you believe the competition followed the right course and each of them was deserving of their title? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And of course, share this video with friends who need to see this content. Don't leave without hitting the like button. It helps a lot with visibility and motivates me to keep bringing videos like this to you. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any upcoming videos. We have much more content about bodybuilding, competitions, and the stories of the greatest athletes who have ever graced the Mr. Olympia stage. See you in the next video, and until then,